We have the same thing on our block.
Good afternoon and welcome to this informational. It's Tuesday, June 26th. We are going to call this meeting to order. I'm going to start it off with open discussion. Is there anything for open discussion? I have one thing that I wanted to just bring up to the council. We had the Falls Park informational last week and had a lot of great conversations in regards to that. One of the things that was brought up is an additional study. I know I've spent some time looking at that and have my own opinion, but I wanted to throw it out there as far as if there's any other council opinions, as far as if we want to see this go somewhere else or if we're just simply looking at making some changes. Councilor Neitzer.
Thank you. I would like to say that there's really perhaps no other city asset that's received more review and study than Falls Park. I've had a lot of discussions since the tragedy with risk management. I sat down with the South Dakota Public Assurance Alliance and the city attorneys I've talked to at length. Falls Park is studied at least annually in one form or another. We talk about hiring consultants and spending unnecessary money when we have people on staff who can do it. We have a great risk management department. I don't think people maybe are aware of the service that we get from the South Dakota Public Assurance Alliance. We pay them quite a bit of money, and they have experts on staff. One of them is a guy named Doug Kirkus. He's a loss control consultant for Safety Benefits Incorporated, which is under contract with the South Dakota Public Assurance Alliance. They provide loss control reviews for their members. Falls Park is reviewed annually, as I learned. Those reviews were completed every year from 2008 to the present. Those reviews are oral and they don't have a yearly report, so there's not a report per se. Risk management receives police reports and they review obviously all accidents and incidents at all of our venues, including Falls Park. After the 2013 tragedy, there was an ad hoc committee like there was just this year. They looked at everything. It included parks, fire, police, emergency management, the South Dakota Public Assurance Alliance, SBI, the Safety Benefits Incorporated, and risk management. That led to the addition of the warning signs and also the anchor points. And there was discussion about a lot of the things we heard about last week that were also rejected again for various reasons. In 2016, there was there's that miscommunication about whether there was an audit or not. It wasn't an audit, but it did include a week-long loss control training exercise. That included Falls Park. It wasn't a formal audit, but they did have Mary Beth O'Connell, who has 32 years of loss control and safety consulting experience, and other people on site, and the executive director of the South Dakota Public Assurance Alliance, who has 18 years as the state's risk manager in her previous life. And the state and the city share peer-to-peer experience. There's an internal Falls Park site evaluation 2010 and 2015. Loss control attends conferences, or this Falls Park is a topic of conversation all the time. We have the other analysis that was this year. So it's obvious to me that Falls Park has been analyzed over and over and over and exhaustively. So while we could hire a consultant, I would say that we already do pay a consultant. We've had it looked at numerous times, and I'm confident that we have very good recommendations, and I would feel comfortable moving forward. So sorry for the lengthy summary, but that would be my feeling.
No, thank you. I appreciate your thorough research always. Clearly you had done a little more than I did, so thank you for that. I appreciate it. Is there any other thoughts on that anyone? I'm sorry, Councilor Staley.
Well, yes, because actually I did, Councilor Starr and I had asked for information and things were not coming out. We were told there was something written, and then it turns out there wasn't something written. And in April, we had a resolution asking for the last 10 years of reports, and my colleagues on the council were very, very adamant that that was not needing to happen, and that we were scolded for even bringing this up that way. So I guess I think it would be good to have something in writing. I mean, an oral report, it really doesn't cut it for me. And we were told there was an audit, and it turns out there wasn't an audit. And where I am so grateful that we're talking about having this action taken down by the foam. That is, I think it's fabulous. But I was under the assumption last week that we were given this, that our mayor actually was suggesting that we do a third-party safety survey of the whole area they said about $15,000. I thought that's what I was hearing. So I was saying if we're going to do that, I think it would, and I know Councilor Starr agreed with that it would make more sense to do the comprehensive study, have an independent party come in, look at this, say there's some other things that we could do, and have it in writing. I just wanted something I could hang on to, and I know the media did too. We wanted something concrete to look at. So that I was just taking from what the mayor said, what his office said, that we should have this study done and then spend the $300-some thousand for the platform. And I am happy we're doing the platform. I think that needs to be done. But I would at some point like to have a study as well, on paper. Thank you.
Anyone else want to chime in? I'll just add that what I will do is follow up with the attorneys and see if maybe they can provide maybe more of a formal write-up versus the oral reports that we've received. I do agree that this particular area has probably been given more attention than, and rightfully so, than many other areas. And so it's very possible that we're able to get something in writing from them, and we'll kind of go from there. Councilor Kiley?
Well, I would just add that I believe what was brought forward last week was a set of recommendations that the council had the opportunity to review. And ultimately, it's going to be the council, this council, that will make the final decision as to what we go forward with. Mm-hmm. And as I stated last week, I do like the idea of a viewing platform down on the lower level because it'll direct individuals away from the danger area. I also, and I'm in the safety business, and I like to think the things that we do at the South Dakota Safety Council are very well thought out and researched and evaluated, but I also know that from time to time it's good to have another set of eyes on the projects to make sure that we're doing what, or just to ensure that we're not missing something. So I would also support that as well too, as well as take a look at some of the other recommendations that were on the list too.
Sounds good. We'll continue the conversation. We will move on to our first presentation. Mr. Mayor, if you would like to join us. Our presentation today is the 2019-2023 Capital Program presentation that will be given by Mayor Paul Tanakin.
All right, thank you, Councilor Erickson. Good afternoon, councilors and members of the public. I come before you today to present the 2019 to 2023 Capital Program proposal. This is our budget as a city, and today we will review some highlights of the capital program over the next 5 years, so you are aware of the priorities of my administration. Again, the reason I stand here facing you all is that this is not just a budget for the city and for the council, but this is for you as citizens, and this is collectively, this is our budget. Now, the elephant in the room today is that it's my 43rd day as your mayor. The budget proposal in front of you is a result of hard work, good stewardship, and smart planning over the past several months and years by the various departments and past councils. I want to take a moment to thank the city employees who helped prepare the capital program, especially those in the finance department who I've been spending a lot of time with in those first 43 days. This proposal has been thoroughly vetted by the departments, by myself, and I can assure you I've reviewed the entirety of the proposed budget and have made adjustments based on what I believe to be wise financial investments for the future of our city. So before we dive into the capital program, I want to take a few minutes for an overview of the city's finances. And as I prepared to enter the mayor's office over the past year, I heard a wide spectrum of opinions on the city's financial health, and especially on our ability to borrow. I would hear comments like, we spent too much money, we've maxed out our credit card, and I'd hear people say, the city's very stable, keep it moving, and I'd hear people say, spend more, I don't mind taxes. And actually only heard one guy say that, but he did really say that. But it's important for the people of Sioux Falls to know that the financial health of our city is very stable and it is very sustainable. Thanks to past administration and councils, our community has a solid foundation to build our future upon. So we can't avoid the obvious. There are outside influences affecting this budget that I'm going to show you today. Sioux Falls is heavily dependent on sales tax revenue to provide quality services and sustain and grow our infrastructure. And we'll dive into these numbers in a moment, but all of us know slow sales tax growth has declined over the past 2 decades. And there's no quantitative explanation for this, although I think we all have our own ideas and theories on that. When agriculture is thriving in the region, so is Sioux Falls revenue. Declines in commodities and recent threats of trade wars that could negatively impact ag exports are troubling to an already sluggish sales tax base in our state. Online shopping has also put a dent in sales tax growth. The convenience, product options, consumer experiences are attractive to shoppers, but it has a negative impact on our city's ability to maintain services and infrastructure. On the bright side, I was very pleased with the Supreme Court's opinion in the South Dakota versus Wayfair case last week. Beginning soon, many retailers will begin remitting sales tax to the state and municipalities. Realistically, this may not return Sioux Falls sales tax growth to the rate it was in the 90s. However, I'm optimistic it will bring in additional dollars that are greatly needed for our growing community and its growing needs. Now again, keep in mind all of the dollars we have lost to online sales aren't coming back. The Wayfair decision benefits our neighboring communities like Brandon, T, and Salem because the sales tax we once collected from those consumers at a brick and mortar shop in Sioux Falls and shifted online now go to those respective communities. But when South Dakota wins, Sioux Falls wins, and vice versa. Last year was the slowest growth in sales tax since the recession. Our peak in the past 20 years was 1997 at 9.5% annual growth, and last year it was at 1.9%. What you're looking at here is the rolling 10-year average. And so our rolling 10-year average of long-term revenue growth has a downward trend. This is the opposite trend we want to see as our population ticks upward and demands of running a nearly 200,000 population city continue to increase. On a bright side, so far 2018 is trending upwards. We've seen a great month in April, for example. This improvement allows us to be more bullish on the budget proposal that this city's financed and more bullish than we expected. We should be optimistic yet realistic with this budget. Although the numbers for 2018, as you can see in front of you, look good, and we expect revenue from online retailers at some point, we must be cautious given the ag economy is not yet trending upward as much as we'd like it to. Based on trends, the capital proposal today is based on an expected 3% sales tax growth rate. Our current debt capacity is manageable and sustainable. This chart shows current debt compared to expected future sales tax. Between 2023 and 2036, bond payments will conclude for many other projects our community has invested in over the past several years, freeing up borrowing capacity. However, as you can see on the left-hand side of the graph, you can see when those bonds mature. And we don't free up any borrowing capacity until 2023, which means a frugal and responsible approach to spending in the next 5 years will be very critical. The city still has plenty of borrowing capacity, as you'll see in the next slide, but excessive borrowing in the near term would impact some of our planned projects. Going back to my comment about a wide spectrum of opinions on our debt capacity, we are far from our legal debt limit of $668 million, as you can see on this slide. Now, clearly, the legal debt limit is not a debt load we aspire to, but we are capable of borrowing if and when community needs are identified and agreed to by the administration and by you all as counselors. Again, our debt is manageable and sustainable. It's a big number, but we're a big city, and we have big city needs. As an elected official, I pledge to be a good steward of taxpayer dollars, and I will hold true to that. And if I can go off script for 1 second, I normally talk about being Dutch, but we didn't work that into the script. But I will be good with our taxpayer dollars. My focus is to pay down the city's debt while spending conservatively on the necessities of our community that are necessary for growth and for renewal. So not only is Sioux Falls debt manageable, but we have demonstrated to our peer communities that we spend responsibly in this city. This is a chart that our city leaders, past and present, should be very proud of. In addition, our Moody bond rating is also a clear reflection of the fiscal responsibility that we have